Anthony Joshua. More excuses for the loss to Andy Ruiz. He says that he was intimidated, paraphrasing, intimidated by Deontay Wilder's knockout of Dominic Breazeale and noises that he heard in the crowd. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Shout out to everybody that's on the Patreons. We had a very, very sensitive political topic that we discussed on the Patreon that we just uploaded. I think that you guys will enjoy it very much. I can't mention the title in this on YouTube, so you'll just have to go to the chat and see it. And also, it's a free Patreon for anybody that wants to go check out the video. It's free on the Fanon Business and Politics page. I wanted to put that out there because I thought most of the subscribers that regularly come by the channel would like to hear them. Shout out to my man Sugar Fantastic. I'm dedicating this video to you, man. I really do appreciate your daily support over there on the live streams that we do Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and OG Boxing Talk 8 a.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday. Let's get into this. I thought that I was going to be able to be done with this topic, man, but I can't. I can't help myself. Can't help myself. I've been paying attention to this Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder stuff for going on 2 years. I wanted to do a Jaron Ennis right when I'm about to say I'm making a video about Jaron Boots Ennis out of Philadelphia, young kid, man. I'm really excited about. Wanted to talk about. I was thinking about making a video with him and Devin Haney. About him, Devin Haney, and seeing, if those guys eventually would be matching up at 147. But right when that happens, I come across another article written quoting some things that Anthony Joshua said about Deontay Wilder and how he had heard the crowd boo in the second round in New York. He didn't know what the booing was about, and he thought to himself, at least this is what I'm getting out of what he said, that, this is just 2 weeks after Deontay Wilder has a first round knockout against Dominic Breazeale, and Anthony Joshua says, I got to get in there and I got to perform. I can't let the crowd down. They start booing, and I guess then he overdoes it. He fought a cool first 2 rounds of boxing, and then he knocks down Andy Ruiz, and then Andy Ruiz gets back up and winds up knocking him down, and I guess that's where it went downhill from there. That's what that is. Then, hey man, like I said, man, you do not need to fight Andy Ruiz again. If that is true, what's going to change next time? You're not going to let the crowd get to you. You're not going to be intimidated by Deontay Wilder. And what Deontay Wilder's last performance was, your fight will more than likely be after the Luis Ortiz fight, which again is a tough fight for Deontay Wilder, but it could wind up in another devastating knockout for Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's a knockout artist, man. You're gonna wind up, if you're fighting around the same time as Deontay Wilder, yeah, man, you always gonna wind up trying to make up and trying to match the excitement of that guy's fights, because those fights are just electric. And I don't care what any of you UK fans talk about, dossers and bums and all of this and all of that. Deontay Wilder will always put on a show. So if you let that get to you, then that just speaks about your mental maturity, man. That speaks to whether or not you're actually, a seasoned veteran. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is absolutely one of the best at not letting that stuff get to him. Floyd Mayweather Jr. understands that you got to win the fight first. If you're exciting, so be it. But first things first, win the fight. If you have to outbox him to win the fight, win the fight. If you can get him out of there and knock him out and end the fight, then you get him out of there, knock him out, and end the fight. But the most important thing, Anthony Joshua, is to win the fight. It's not to excite the fans, because you can excite the fans, but if you get knocked out, that will be the last time, for most fighters anyway, That will be the last time that you get to excite the fans. If you win the fight convincingly, you win it on the scorecards, then you can live to excite another day. Okay? You want to have an exciting performance, but if you can't provide an exciting performance, you live to excite another day. The question though is, the question that I asked myself when I was reading this was, do I really believe that? Tosh. No, I do not believe that. I don't believe it. There was all kind of rumors about everything about him not wanting to come out of his locker room. Talks about whether or not he had been knocked out or knocked down by Joey DeWaco and or somebody else. Look, excuses. Excuses are tools of incompetence used to build monuments of nothing. AJ, excuses are tools of incompetence used to build monuments of nothing. Now that's an abbreviated quote, but you get the point. Who cares? Who cares? You lost the fight, point blank, period. I don't need to look at it. And I know it seems to the Manny Pacquiao fans that are watching my video that I am not a Manny Pacquiao fan. I'm a tremendous Manny Pacquiao fan. But I like to put Manny Pacquiao in the slot that I think he belongs in, which is one of the greatest fighters that I've seen in my life. A tremendously exciting fighter. I like it as a person, from everything that I've heard come out of his mouth as a person. He's very all of that. But every time the guy loses, there's an excuse. He blew his shoulder out against Floyd Mayweather Jr. You tore your rotator cuff. No, okay, now you're just going to try to minimize the victory that Floyd Mayweather Jr. had. All the other fights that you've had, you didn't tear your rotator cuff. Never had any problems with your rotator cuff before that. Ain't had no rotator cuff problems before that. Throwing pretty punches, but the excuses come out when you lose. Same thing here, Anthony Joshua. Don't come out here, or you shouldn't. You should try not to come out here with all these excuses. The better man won. Get back in the ring. If you want to get back in the ring right away, get back in the ring and then try to avenge the loss. That's all you can do. If you think, and I think this is a lesson for life generally, for everybody, that if something goes wrong and you make an excuse, you are stealing your opportunity from yourself, your opportunity to improve from yourself. If there are things that Anthony Joshua didn't do, that he didn't see, that he didn't anticipate, that came from what Andy Ruiz was doing, then he can make adjustments to what Andy Ruiz is doing. If he thinks, it was Deontay Wilder's, it was the issue with Deontay Wilder that threw me off because he had this spectacular performance. If I just would have, done the same thing, but I wouldn't have really tried to excite everybody by knocking out Andy Ruiz, then I would have won the fight. Dude, you got hit and dropped 4 times by this guy. Maybe it wasn't the first knockdown, okay. The second knockdown, maybe. It skipped a round or two before Anthony Joshua got knocked down again. So why is it, was the crowd still booing? I don't remember I was watching on the zone. I don't remember the crowd booing. I remember there being a lot of excitement at that point in time. The crowd at the point in time where Anthony Joshua got knocked down 2 more times, the crowd was focused. The crowd was into it. The crowd was getting their money's worth. They might not have liked what they spent their money on, but it was dang sure worth the price of admission at that point. And then you got knocked down 2 more times, and then you quit against the ropes by not responding to the referee. The referee says, come to me. This is not a timeout. This is not a break, right? You didn't walk forward. Waves it off. Look, man, you gotta accept it, man. And the same thing goes to you guys, to his fans. Look, Anthony Joshua got rushed. Many of the things that you complimented him for prior to the loss with Anthony Joshua came back to bite him. Going into and fighting for and all of those belts that early in his career, and it's only his 22nd, 23rd fight, he probably didn't have to just because of the sheer number of fights that he had. He couldn't possibly have had to have crossed all kind of different issues, right? When you fight 40 fights like Deontay Wilder has, or you fight 50 fights like Floyd Mayweather Jr. has, or 60 fights, I think it is, for like Manny Pacquiao, there's going to be all kind of different issues that come up that you have to learn to adjust and deal with. Whether that's you getting a concussion 2 weeks before the fight actually takes place, or you breaking your hand in the first round, or you get a 3rd-degree burn a couple weeks before the fight happens, or you catch a cold and you're underweight. All of those things, and overcoming all of those things, is what makes the champion. Everybody can perform well when everything is picture perfect. But excuses, Joshua. And if you keep making these excuses, the same thing is going to happen to you again. Anyway, it is what it is. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.